This is Roberta Foster, and welcome to today's edition of the Author's Corner, brought to you by KNEO 91.7 FM, The Word. And today I welcome to Author's Corner David Loyd, who wrote Strong to the End, The Simple Service and Sudden Sacrifice of the Martyrs in Haiti, along with his wife Alicia and with Dean Merrill. The book is published by Moody Publishing, and we'll tell you more about how to find the book at the end of the program. A little biography. David and Alicia Lloyd are graduates of Ozark Bible Institute and College, where they met. After marrying on May 30th, 1997, they moved the next year to Port-au-Prince, Haiti, in order to pursue their missionary calling. Under the name Missions in Haiti, their children's home has now raised more than 100 children to adulthood. Their government-recognized school educates some 450 children a year. Other outreaches include Good Hope Church, a commercial bakery, and a sewing factory. David, thank you so much for being with us today on Author's Corner.
Thank you for having me.
Well, in the bio, it talked about the fact that just a year after marriage, you felt a call to serve in Haiti. Tell us more about that.
Oh, I've actually felt the call since I was a young child. I grew up in a very mission-minded church, and we had missionaries come through all the time. And one came through and presented their work in Haiti, and I just felt like the Lord said to me, someday you'll be there. Of course, I wrestled with the call as I got older and through my teenage years as to how to what I was going to do next with my life. And then finally, in my first year in the community college there up in St. Charles, Missouri, I said, okay, Lord, I'm going to surrender to your will, and I'll go to Bible school next year. And that's where I went to Ozark Bible Institute, finished there, and met Alicia and got married and went to Haiti.
Well, your son seemed to follow pretty closely in your example, didn't he?
Yes, he did. We have 3 children, and all 3 of them just love Haiti. But Davy, it just seems like he had a little extra love for Haiti, and that's all he wanted to do with his life as he grew up from the time he was a young boy. I know the first story that really popped up was when Davy was about almost 5 years old. There was hurricanes that come through and flooded a village there in Haiti, and a missionary went and picked up some children from that town, and they then reached out to children's homes throughout Port-au-Prince if they could take kids. Davy overheard the conversation we were having on the phone, and we agreed to take in a brother and a sister from that group that he brought down, but that was all we had room for. And that really upset young Davy. When we got off the phone, he just looked at us. He goes, when I'm the missionary someday, I'm going to take all the kids, because he just felt sorry for the conditions that they were experiencing as a result of losing their homes and their families from that hurricane.
Well, jumping ahead a number of years, a very tragic situation took place in Haiti that you have written your book about, and so why don't you tell our listeners about that?
Oh, yes, for Strong to the End. So over the years, Davy growing up in Haiti, and he just felt in his heart that's what he wanted to do, but that was one of the concerns about Lisa and I had is, are you sure it's what God wants you to do? So I know before he went to Bible college and after he graduated high school there at our Christian school there in Haiti, we said, go to Bible college there. He was going to Ozark Bible Institute there in Neosho, and I said, make sure, my wife actually told him, make sure that it's really God's will for you to come back, and you're not just coming back because you feel sorry for the Haitian people or you feel sorry for your mom and dad because we need help because of the load that we're under here. And, figured out between you and the Lord. So he did that. He did the 4-year program there and just drew closer to the Lord. And each year his heart longed more to get back to Haiti. And he let that be known throughout the school. And he said, anybody, if you're going to be my girlfriend and future wife, you have to know that you're going to live in Haiti. And, of course, they're at the Bible college. That's where he met Natalie Baker. And she was willing to become a missionary there also to Haiti because she knew that's what Davy and God had laid upon his heart, and then God laid it upon her heart. And I know Davy did a few mission services around the area there in different churches, And I watched him one time online, and he introduced himself as he was going home, and Natalie was the missionary.
Well, and because he was there, actually, tell us a little bit about the day before the tragic death of Davy and Natalie. As I understand it, you were there just a few hours before and caught a plane out. And there was a little discussion between you and Davy about that situation.
Yes, the gang situation in Haiti has been awful for the last 3 or 4 years. It just continues to get worse. And at that time, in February of 2024, the gangs got together and decided they were going to shut the international airport down there in Port-au-Prince. So they shot the airport up, hit a couple planes, so all flights had been canceled. My wife had left on an embassy evacuation flight a few weeks before my youngest son, Sam, and I had left because she needed some medicines that she couldn't find in Haiti, a prescription. So she flew back. So she was already here, and they kept saying they were eventually putting security around the airport. We're going to reopen the airport, and one of the Haitian airlines, Sunrise, announced they had flights available there at the end of May. So I went to Davy and Natalie the week before, and actually went to Natalie first because I already knew what Davy's answer would be. And I said, "Hey, I know you guys were supposed to leave in April." I said, "It's the end of May now." I said, "Would you guys want to go ahead and go out and take a couple weeks? And then me and Sam will go out after you guys get back." And she goes, "No, we're good. Everything's good. Me and Davy's good since Elisa's already over there. Why don't you and Sam go first? And then when you guys come back in a couple weeks, then Davy and I will go out." And so I went and asked Davy. Of course, his reply was the exact same thing. So I got online, bought the ticket for that Wednesday, May 22nd, 2024. And Sam and I flew out of Port-au-Prince that morning, and eventually got back here to our home base in Claremore, Oklahoma. That actually, it was the Thursday morning when we got home because of flights being delayed and everything. So early that morning, and then about 4 o'clock that afternoon, the first call came in, and then several hours of living through a nightmare there.
Yeah. Well, today I'm talking with David Loyd about the book Strong to the End, which is published by Moody Publishing. You're listening to Author's Corner. I'm Roberta Foster. And if you miss any part of today's interview or would like to hear it again or share it with someone else, you can find it on your favorite podcast provider or through kneo.org. And so, as you mentioned just recently, you got a phone call, and then the gang had actually grabbed Davy, ended up beating them so badly that they died. And so tell us more about what you went through when you realized they had sacrificed their life for Christ.
Yeah, Davy and Natalie, they had come out of youth that evening. There was a gang. They had youth on Thursday night at our church, Good Hope Church there. And there was a gang that was waiting, and when Davy stepped out of the church, somebody gave signal, and the gang came and grabbed him. So that was the first gang, and it actually started the night. The first gang came in and roughed him up and was beating him and slammed his head against the concrete and stole a bunch of stuff. In between that, my director, Jude, who was also killed with Davy and Natalie that night, he had called from his house, and he said, "My wife just called from the church, and she said the gang had grabbed Davy and took him into the compound, into their apartment and house." And he says, "I don't know what's going on." So at that point, I said, "Jude, please, I need to know." So I was here at the house here in Claremore, and I just hit my knees immediately and started calling out to God on their behalf. My wife and youngest son, Sam, who had flown out and got here with us, was with me on the flight home. He's 17. He had been craving some McDonald's, so they had just stepped out and went to get McDonald's because there's no such thing in Haiti.
Right. And
had got back, and they said, "What's going on?" I said, "Davy and Natalie needs prayer." So they began praying, and then time kind of just all bunched together that night. But then we got a call from Davy. Jude had gotten to the yard, and he said, "The group just left, Dad, and they took a bunch of stuff. They took everything." And I said, "Well, how are you doing here?" "I got blood running down my face from where they had hit me with their guns." And later I found out they actually had slammed his head into the concrete wall a few times. And so I said, "Well, you need to get to the hospital." And he says, "Yes." He said, I'm going to, but he says, I got to get a few things straightened up here. As of talking, he goes, "Dad, something else is happening. I've got to go." And that's when the second gang arrived, and they just came in the yard just shooting in every direction. So then Davy, Natalie, and Jude ran to our personal home that was on one end of the compound, and the kids and staff all ran to the mission house. They ran to our compound because that's where the satellite internet was located, so they could communicate and call me. That's what I'm assuming. They ran, or they may have been closer to it because they may was already there talking with me. And then the next few hours, the details become a little more sketchy. We can only know what was told by the Haitian staff that witnessed it and the children. I did get a call through at one time, and Jude was on the line, and he said, "Pastor, it's not good. All the windows are shot out. We have not been hit yet, but we need some help. It's not good." That was the last time. I actually said, "Davy, what's going on?" He says, "Dad, we need some help." He said, it's bad. And then I asked Natalie, I said, "Natalie, are you okay?" And she goes, "Yeah, I'm okay." And that was the last I talked to him.
We're not going to go into any more of the details of that, except to say that in reading your book on page 21, this is a question that other people have probably asked when their children are facing a tough situation, or even themselves. And in the book it says, you asked God, where were you in all of this horror? And so how did the Lord answer that question in your heart?
Yeah, that's one of the things that I struggled with there for a while. Why God? You asked the question, why God? I've always had great faith for finances. God has always met needs. I've always had great faith for protection. I've been shot at in Haiti. The kids were actually kidnapped in 2005. Davy was 5 years old. Hannah was 3, my daughter. And they were reunited with us 21 hours later unharmed. And God just had moved in so many ways over the years that we knew that he was going to answer the prayer that night the way we wanted him to answer. We just felt like it. And I even had good pastor friends said we was expecting another the results like we've always had, positive results. God intervened. So, yes, that was a question I had. And then, shortly after the funeral, I went down with my daughter, Hannah. We flew into Port-au-Prince to see the children and meet with the staff and let them know we hadn't abandoned them. Natalie's father, Ben Baker, and her uncle Bobby went with us. And just started talking with the kids and started hearing some stories. And one particular was Evangel. Evangel was our youth pastor or our youth leader, and he was with Davy some through the ordeal. And he said that during the first gang attack that Davy continued to preach the gospel, continued to quote scriptures, tell the gangs how they needed to repent because God loved them. And then during the second attack, while he was barricaded, or while they were barricaded in their home, in the home down there, that as in between the gunfire, that every time it would stop, they could hear Davy preaching, sharing scriptures, telling them about the love of Jesus and how they need to give their heart to the Lord. So he continued to preach all the way up, they said, until, I'm assuming, his dying breath. So after I heard those stories and I talked to Davy and knew the condition that he was in with the probably concussion, actually that time on the phone he did say, "Dad, I'm getting sleepy. I'm really tired." He says, "We need some help." That to hear that he had a supernatural strength to continue to preach and to continue to share for hours the gospel. And they said that in the night air throughout the area, his voice was just booming across and echoing across the compound.
Wow.
So I realized that nobody in their own strength could have been able to do that, that God was there, that God was with them, but it wasn't in the way I wanted him to answer the prayer and be there.
Right.
But that really helped us settle some things, that God hadn't abandoned them, that God had been there for them.
Yeah.
And we just have to trust there's a bigger picture than what we see for God allowing this to happen, and we're taking it one day at a time.
Tell us what is taking place with the ministry there now.
We relocated the children from the Port-au-Prince area to the north part of Haiti. The gangs currently have not reached the north. Port-au-Prince International Airport has been closed again. It's been closed for going on 2 years almost now, a year and a half. So there's no international flights in and out of there, but there's still flights in and out of Cap Haitian. So we're able to take a flight from Miami to Cap Haitian. We go down average about every 6 weeks to love on the kids, meet with the staff, and just let them know that they've not been abandoned.
Yeah.
The staff is currently young men and women that we raised in Haiti that grew up with Davy, and they are doing a tremendous job making sure the children are taken care of, and spiritually that they're drawing in close to the Lord and getting the education that they need, so that way when someone does intervene in the gang situation in Haiti and people can get back to their life, that these children can help turn Haiti around and make a difference in that country.
So, David, do you have a website or a way of people that can give to help support the ministry you have in Haiti?
Yes, Missions in Haiti has a website that has the information on how to donate through that. Just www.missionsinhaiti.com.
Thank you. So I've been talking with David Loyd, who wrote the book along with his wife Alicia called Strong to the End. And as a bit of information, I'll be sharing my conversation with Alicia Lloyd the week following this interview. Same place, same time, here on KNEO. And so, David, thank you so much for your time.
No, thank you for reaching out to us. We appreciate it.
And one more time, the book is Strong to the End, written by David and Alicia Lloyd with Dean Merrill, and it's published by Moody Publishers. We sure appreciate their provision of this book. And thank you for tuning in. This is Roberta Foster on the Author's Corner. Join me again next time.